Well, hey everyone, and welcome to Psalm number 71. Psalm 71 is a very rich psalm. It's written from the perspective of an old man, written by an old man. There's no author attributed to the psalm, but I will say this: if David didn't write the psalm, then it was written by someone who knew David's writing style and imitated it almost to perfection, if not to perfection. So yes, in my heart, I can't imagine anyone other than David having written this psalm, and I think that you'll see why I think that as you see the themes throughout and the language used throughout. But I won't say it as a certainty because I don't know it as a certainty. What I do know for sure, though, is this: this psalm was written by a man who desperately wanted peace in his later years, but did not find it. He found trouble instead. But I'll also add this: though this man did not have peace in his old age, it did not make him bitter. He remained faithful to God. I think it's a part of American culture, this idea that if you work hard and are faithful when you are young, that you should get to take it easy in the later chapters of your life. The problem with that thought process and that idea that is so prevalent in our culture is that it is not biblical. The saints of old, they worked and they struggled through their old age and served, and those that didn't simply didn't because they didn't live to be an old age. Too much, I truly believe that too much faith and too much knowledge that is contained within our older saints is wasted in the church today. A lifetime is spent accumulating knowledge, and even better, wisdom. And what do most people do with that treasure? They say things like, "I served my time," as if their past service to the Lord was more like a prison sentence than it was a joy. I, for one, am so richly blessed by teaching God's word and in service to his kingdom that I cannot imagine the mundanity of a life in which I didn't do it anymore. And on top of that, where would my life-sustaining blessings come from outside of my service to my Lord? By my own estimation, I got a late start at being a minister. So I intend to preach until it's not humanly possible for me to preach anymore. And Lord willing, there'll still be someone there to preach to. I say all of that just to say, if you really want to set yourself up for disappointment and risk being unjustly angry toward a holy God, then just seek ease and seek comfort. By all biblical accounts, God has no intention of giving you ease and comfort in life. Because those things do not produce the people that he's called us to be. When Jesus said in Matthew chapter 10, verse 38, "The one who does not take his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me," he didn't put an age range on this statement. He intends for us to take up our cross and follow after as long as we're alive on this earth. To be like Moses, who in his old age did far more than he ever imagined that he would do in his youth. And looking at Moses' life, Moses or God did not use the young Moses, who was full of strength, who was full of vitality. No, God didn't call Moses into his service until he was 80 years old. God used Moses' youth, though. He used his youth to develop him into someone that he could use, into something useful. Someone will say, yeah, but that was a long time ago, and Moses was probably stronger than an 80-year-old is today. Maybe, to a degree, but not all that you might imagine either. Consider the elderly Moses in Exodus chapter 17, verses 8 through 12. Then Amalek came and fought against Israel at Rephidim. So Moses said to Joshua, Choose men for us and go out. Fight against Amalek. Tomorrow I will station myself on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hand." Joshua did just as Moses told him and fought against Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. So it came about when Moses held his hand up that Israel prevailed. But when he let his hand down, Amalek prevailed. And Moses' hands were heavy. So they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. And Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side and one on the other. So his hands were steady until the sun set. There are men in this scene that are fighting and dying in battle. Now, to win the battle, all Moses has to do is hold up his hand with the staff in it. Not swing a sword, but hold up a staff. First, he can't even stand for very long. So they have to find a seat for him. Next, he can't hold up his hands. It's too hard for him to do that. Even though to lower his hands means that Israel will lose the battle. So they hold up his hands for him. Aaron and Hur do. Now hear me, church. I'm not picking on the elderly Moses. There are few that I admire in the Bible more than Moses. I'm just using this as an example to illustrate that Moses had some issues due to his age. But you know what Moses never did? He never schemed to figure out a way so that he could retire. He never sought ease. He served God faithfully until the end. And from 80 years old until his 120th year, Moses faithfully served the Lord. And then he died an awesome death, sitting on top of Mount Nebo, with a view of the giant valley in the promised land below. And then God personally buried Moses, as the Bible says, in a secret place. The last 40 years of Moses' life were full of service to the Lord. So young or old, I ask you, what are you doing with your years? Well, that was a little bit longer of an introduction than I had actually planned or anticipated when I set out. So we'll not cover the whole psalm in this sitting, but I think we'll divide it and then teach it in separate parts. It's a neat thing to have this psalm from its unique perspective, so I don't want to waste any of it. So as we proceed into the psalm, I want you to keep the picture of the old man who is writing this in your mind. And what you're going to see is a pleading against enemies, pleading to God against his enemies, request for blessings to continue in his life, and promises to continue in the faithfulness that he's lived to this point. The first 4 verses is a cry for help. Let's just look at those. Psalm 71, verses 1 through 4. In you, Lord, I have taken refuge. Let me never be put to shame. In your righteousness, rescue me and save me. Extend your ear to me and help me. Be to me a rock of dwelling to which I may continually come. You have given the commandment to save me, for you are my rock and my fortress. Save me, my God, from the hand of the wicked, from the grasp of the wrongdoer and the ruthless. Verse 1. In you, Lord, I have taken refuge. Let me never be put to shame. Note the past tense. I have taken refuge. This isn't the first time I've come to you, Lord, for shelter, is what he's saying. In my time of trouble, I have come to you for help. And then he follows with, let me never be put to shame, or your version may say, let me never be ashamed, which is what being put to shame means. Let me never be ashamed. Well, let him never be ashamed of what? It's a plea for the Lord to remain faithful to him now as he's always been to him. He's saying, Lord, don't let me down now. You're it for me. You are my only plan. Now, how often do we seek our own plan first in times of trouble? And when it doesn't work out, then we turn to God upset and treat him as if it was his plan that didn't succeed. You know, too often I think we make our own plan And then we ask God to bless the plan that we came up with. And then we're upset when it doesn't work out. Here's what I encourage you, church. Go to God first. Seek his counsel first in prayer. Seek the answer within his word first. Not your own, not what makes sense in your own mind. Go to God's word and see if what you're thinking makes sense biblically. See if it aligns with what God thinks, with what his will is. Jesus taught in Matthew chapter 7, verses 7 through 11, as part of the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus said this: "Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks it will be opened. Or what person is there among you who, when his son asks for a loaf of bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, he will not give him a snake, will he? So if you, despite being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask him?" So you want God's help in your time of trouble? Jesus says, ask. You want answers in your time of trouble? Jesus says, seek them out. When you ask and when you seek and then you still don't have peace, Jesus says, knock. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean to knock? It means to bang on the doors of heaven and continually ask as you seek until God gives you an answer. Note what else Jesus says. Everyone who asks receives. Everyone who seeks finds. Everyone who knocks on heaven's door gets a response. You know, that encourages me. That's a great encouragement to me to go to God first. Then Jesus says, and this is a paraphrase, he says, look, you are evil and you know how to help your children. God is perfect. He knows how to help and is willing to help those who ask him. Verse 2. In your righteousness, rescue me and save me. Extend your ear and help me. Now, why does he appeal to God's righteousness to rescue and save him? Because he's lived long enough. This author has lived long enough at this point to have a good working theology. When you understand that you are not righteous, you don't make appeals to God based upon your righteousness. So he instead makes his appeal to God based on God's righteousness. He's saying, God, you are always morally right. You are always morally just because that's who you are. And because that's who you are, Lord, don't let evil have its way with me. Do not let evil win the day. Rescue me, he continues, and save me. The word here translated rescue in the English is literally to snatch away, to snatch away. And save is literally escape. So in the saving, he pictures God reaching down with his hand and snatching him up in his hand away from those who are pursuing him in order to provide his escape. Then he adds, extend your ear to me and help me. Now, extending the ear means giving your undivided attention. He's saying, God, please listen carefully, listen attentively. And then he adds, help me. Help me is literally save me. He's making his words, all of his words, count in this prayer, very rich in his language. Snatch me away, Lord. Be my way of escape. However you do it, it's your prerogative. But Lord, just save me. It's his desperate plea. Verse 3. Be to me a rock of dwelling, to which I may continually come. You have given the commandment to save me, for you are my rock and my fortress. I love this picture. Not a dwelling made of rocks, plural, but a dwelling made of a rock. Now that's security. And he adds, to which I may continually come. He's saying, set yourself, Lord, permanently as my safe and protected place. Then he says something really neat. You have given the commandment to save me, for you are my rock and my fortress. Here he's speaking in faith that God is going to answer his prayer, even going as far as saying, you have given the commandment to save me. Now, is he manipulating God? Is he naming and claiming and calling into being what he wills to happen? No, not at all. His confidence and his faith are based upon a lifetime of God's faithfulness to him. He's looking back at his life and remembering all the wonderful times that God has come through for him and been faithful to him. And he has no doubt in his mind that God is going to do the same now. He's saying, in one sense, I believe that you will save me. And in another sense, he's saying, you've saved me in the past. You have always been my rock and my fortress. And now it's no different, Lord. You remain my rock and my fortress. You remain the one that I put all of my faith and all my confidence in. But we're to always approach danger with the same attitude of Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, better known to most as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. In Daniel chapter 3, verses 17 and 18, words to commit to your heart for life, words to live by. Their reply to the king, if it be so, our God whom we serve is able to rescue us from the furnace of blazing fire, and he will rescue us from your hand, O king. But even if he does not, those are some of the most important words in the entire Bible right there. But even if he does not, let it be known to you, O king, that we are not going to serve your gods, nor worship the golden statue that you have set up. They're saying, so whether God rescues us through death, or whether he rescues us in this life because he still has purposes for us in this life, he is our ultimate rescuer, regardless. And we're to hold firm to him in our faith, regardless of what he chooses to allow to happen in that instance, knowing in full faith that he always does for his people what is very best for his people. So in the first 3 verses, we don't have any idea why the author is seeking God's deliverance. Now, I gave a hint earlier. I said from people that were trying to deliver him, but that was just because I knew what was up ahead. He's been crying to God for help and to be a refuge and all that so far, but he hasn't said what he's running from. Verse 4 gives us that answer. Save me, my God, from the hand of the wicked, from the grasp of the wrongdoer and the ruthless. There it is. Evil men seek his life. And who are evil men? He calls them wrongdoers. The word literally means to morally distort. The word translated wrongdoers means to morally distort. Well, to morally distort what? The truth. To morally distort the truth. To morally distort what is right. To distort justice. You know, most people who do evil things, they have their reasons. And they've convinced themselves in their own minds, in their own hearts, that their reasons are just reasons, that they're good reasons. They reason that the end justifies the means. They're never short of reasons why they're justified in their actions. And they even believe that they are doing what is right, no matter how evil it is. He's saying, these are evil people that are coming for me. They're messed up in their reasoning. And on top of it all, Lord, on top of these people pursuing me, they are ruthless. They do not intend to show mercy to this old man. They intend to snatch away my life. So we see the reason for the very strong appeal to God to rescue. And he's doing all this, saying all these things, writing these things at a time in life where he wants peace, but he has found none. Well, that's where we're going to stop for now, but I do want to continue in this psalm next week as well. I trust it will bless you as it blessed me. And let me tell you, church, when it comes to this psalm, the best is yet to come. So until next time, love God and love others. I'm Wes LaFleur, signing off.